Okay, let's dive right in. We're going to explore the situation for Palestinians by starting with a single, really unprecedented event. And then we'll zoom out, all the way to the highest levels of international law.
So, picture this. In March 2026, a tradition that had stood for decades was just broken. It really grounds this whole story in a profound and personal moment for thousands of Muslim worshippers. You see, for so many, prayer at Al-Aqsa isn't just a ritual, it's a huge part of their identity. So to have it silenced, that was felt very, very deeply.
And this one voice, from Mariam Ramadan, really captures the confusion and the sense of injustice felt by so many who were turned away from one of Islam's holiest sites. It's such a simple question, isn't it? Why can't I go in? But it echoes a much larger reality of being deprived of a fundamental religious right.
So let's start right there at the gates of Al-Aqsa Mosque, where a closure in 2026 really pulled back the curtain on a deeper system of control.
This wasn't just for a day or two. This was actually the longest period Muslim worshippers have been barred from the site since the occupation began back in 1967. Now, Israeli officials cited security concerns from the conflict with Iran, but for Palestinians, it felt like the war was being used as a pretext to really consolidate control.
And this is where you really see the stark contrast in daily life. I mean, on one hand, you have Muslim worshippers forced to pray in the streets, facing police with batons and tear gas, the old city itself described as a ghost town. But at the same time, life in the Jewish neighborhoods of Jerusalem, well, it continued pretty much as normal. It created this deeply divided experience of the very same city.
And this chart just lays it all out, doesn't it? It perfectly illustrates those claims of discriminatory policies. At the exact same holy site, Muslim access was completely cut off, while policies were actually relaxed for Jewish worshippers. And this move was seen as effectively stripping the Islamic Waqf, that's the religious trust that has administered the site for centuries, of its authority.
Okay, so let's zoom out from the mosque. Let's see how this one specific event is really just one piece of a much wider system of control that impacts all Palestinians.
10,863 by September of 2025. That's how many Palestinian security prisoners were being held by Israel. And just to put that number in perspective, it is more than double the number from just 2 years earlier. That's a dramatic increase, and it points to a much, much broader crackdown.
So here's the crucial thing. Even before that total closure we were just talking about, getting to Jerusalem was already governed by this complex, restrictive permit system. You had quotas, age limits, special permits, magnetic cards. It effectively turned what should be a sacred pilgrimage into a bureaucratic nightmare for hundreds of thousands of Palestinians.
And these restrictions, they had a real human cost. I mean, you hear from so many people like Judat Jaradat, who were turned away at checkpoints even though they met the official criteria, often with no explanation at all. It's this recurring story of promised access just being denied at the very last moment.
All right, now we zoom out even further, to an even harsher dimension of this control, the transformation of the Israeli prison system.
The human rights organization B'Tselem released a report called Living Hell, and in it, they documented a state-sanctioned policy of systematic abuse inside Israeli prisons. Their argument is that this isn't about a few rogue actors, but an institutionalized policy approved at the highest levels.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the legal classification. Look here. Over 3,500 of these prisoners were administrative detainees. So what does that mean? It means they were being held indefinitely, without trial, without even being charged, unable to mount a defense against secret allegations.
The report details a horrifying routine of both physical and psychological abuse. It describes a system where violence is institutionalized, conditions are deliberately inhuman, and medical care is weaponized. And according to B'Tselem, this reality isn't hidden, it's something that's been openly endorsed by officials.
The personal testimonies from released prisoners are deeply, deeply disturbing. This account from Tamer Karmut reveals a pattern of extreme and degrading violence that goes far beyond any kind of interrogation, into the realm of pure torture.
84. That's the known number of Palestinian prisoners and detainees who died in Israeli custody between October 2023 and the beginning of January 2026, and human rights groups fear the actual number could be even higher.
Okay, so let's move from the locked gates and the prison cells to the highest possible level, the international legal stage, and the definitive judgment on the occupation itself.
After months of deliberation, and with more countries participating than in any case in its history, The world's highest court delivered its findings on the legality of Israel's half-century-long occupation. And the court's conclusion was absolutely unambiguous. It stated that because of the occupation's permanence, its entrenchment through settlements, and its denial of Palestinian self-determination, the very presence of Israel in the occupied Palestinian territory is unlawful.
And this quote from the court itself just hammers the point home. It wasn't just about one policy here or there. It was the cumulative effect of the entire system of permanent control, the annexation, the settlements, the exploitation of resources, that all taken together made the very presence of Israel there illegal under international law.
So the crucial point here is that the ICJ laid out clear, binding legal obligations for Israel to follow. This wasn't a suggestion, it was a legal mandate to end the occupation, evacuate the settlers, and pay for the damages inflicted.
The ruling also placed responsibilities on the entire international community. It obligates every single country not to recognize or assist the occupation in any way, shape, or form, and to actively work together to bring it to an end.
So we've journeyed from a locked mosque gate through a system of control and torture all the way to the highest court in the world. And we're left with this final, lingering question. With the law now clarified, the focus shifts from legality to enforcement. The verdict has been delivered, but what is the price of impunity?